Hey there, good morning. So, how many of you, if I said, I love writing treatment plans, they're the best, I can knock those out in no time, I use them all the time? How many of you would raise your hand and say, that's me? The likelihood that is the vast majority of you is pretty slim. Most mental health professionals hate writing treatment plans. Hate writing treatment plans. In fact, I've heard mental health professionals, play therapists, complain that they're useless. They're just to satisfy the paperwork gods or satisfy agencies or satisfy insurance companies. And I actually don't agree with that. I mean, I get it, and at the same time, I think it's short-sighted. Typically, when I dig a little deeper with people as to why they hate them so much or don't even do them, it's been my experience that quite a lot of people, especially in private practice, don't even do treatment plans. And if your agency isn't doing quality control for paperwork, then the likelihood people are not doing their treatment plans is pretty high. And why is that? When I talk to people a little more in depth about treatment plans, what I usually find out is they either don't know how to write them, they don't know how to do them effectively and quickly, and they don't know how to use treatment plans to get really good results for their clients. And why is that? I mean, think back. How many of you in graduate school, when you were taking your courses, how many of you did a whole course on treatment plans and progress note writing and psychosocial assessments? You might have had a psychosocial assessment class where you wrote some of those, but the likelihood you did some treatment planning is probably kind of low. If you did, that's pretty good. The thing is, though, the other thing that's going to determine your treatment plans is your agency. They may want specific things for their treatment plan based on what they're trying to accomplish and what insurance or their whoever it is they're accountable to. So today I want to talk about how can you write meaningful treatment plans that actually are useful and you can get them done quickly and learn a structure. That's the key, learning a structure to get those done. So that's what I want to talk about today. What can you do to write meaningful treatment plans to make them useful and help you measure progress for your clients in treatment? So if you're joining me today, I would love to know who's here. Post your name in the comments, post where you're from, what population you work with, what's your experience with treatment plans, and how do you feel about treatment plans? So I'm Kathy Spooner. I'm a licensed clinical social worker here in the U.S. with over 30 years experience working with children, adolescents, and families. And I'm also a registered play therapist supervisor, and I've been doing that for a couple of decades using play therapy specifically with children, adolescents, and families. And so if you're joining me, I'd love to know who's here, what's your experience. If you find this information useful, please feel free to share it across your social media platforms. If you're following on YouTube, then feel free to hit the like button and the subscribe button. I go live every week at 7 a.m. Pacific time and talk about all things play therapy and expressive arts, helping the next generation of play therapists kind of level up your play therapy skills to get really good results for your clients and make a meaningful impact in their lives. So I live stream into Instagram, and I also live stream into my Facebook group, Play and Expressive Arts Therapy Playground. If you're on YouTube and you're a child and adolescent therapist and you want to use play therapy and expressive arts, feel free to pop over there to Play and Expressive Arts Therapy Playground to join my Facebook group. You do have to answer all of the questions in order to get in, or you won't get in. And I also live stream into my YouTube channel, Kathy Spooner Renewing Hearts Consulting, or Renewing Hearts Training. And that's after the live stream, the replays automatically generate. So they're pretty easy to find in my Facebook group. I pin them in the featured section. You may want to pop over to my YouTube channel. You can click on the live tab, and that's where all of my replays are. So let's see. Hey, Steph. Actually, oh, yay. Steph, you and I might be the outliers. Then on treatment plan, I find it useful. I struggle with the odd sentence structure Medicaid wants. That's interesting. Typically Medicaid, well, you're in Nevada, we write them. If you use a smart focus, and actually, Steph, the treatment planning, I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the courses that I have coming out. I have a couple out. I have some other ones coming out. For those of you in Play Therapy Academy, the course that I'm about to say is going to be inside of Play Therapy Academy. And I'll talk a little bit more about Play Therapy Academy at the end, which is my online play therapy consultation program. So in the next course, treatment planning course that's coming out, Steph, I'm going to go over this in detail. I'll give examples. If you use the SMART format, I don't know if you're familiar with SMART goals and SMART objectives, that will meet Medicaid standards. We write them all the time and don't have trouble with those. So that's a great question, though. All right. So first and foremost, what is the purpose of treatment plans? There is actually a really good purpose for treatment plans. Part of it is okay, so there's two parts to treatment plans. There's the treatment planning process, and then the outcome of the treatment planning process are treatment plans. And the treatment planning process is tied to your case conceptualization process. And that's another course. So if you're interested in that, these two go hand in hand. And if you don't have good case conceptualization, you're going to have a hard time developing treatment plans. And that's usually where a lot of people get stuck, which is why I did a whole course just on case conceptualization and then separated that from the treatment plan process, because you need both. Your case conceptualization, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, is tied to treatment planning. So your treatment planning process is where you're identifying what needs to happen. And the purpose of treatment plans is, one, to kind of co-create with your clients, find out what it is they want to accomplish based on the reason that they're coming. And that's going to also help them engage in the change process. So it gives them also a vision for the work that they're about to engage in and what it is they're going to be working on. So that's a really important part of engaging them in the treatment, creating those meaningful treatment plans. The other thing about treatment plans is they give, and treatment planning process, it gives you a roadmap, so to speak, gives you some idea of what needs to happen. This is true even if you are a process-oriented therapist. Like some play therapy models, like child-centered play therapy, Gestalt play therapy, Jungian play therapy, these are more process-oriented modalities as opposed to something like, I would say Adlerian is a little more structured. Um, Definitely cognitive behavioral play therapy or prescriptive play therapy. These are a little more structured. So even with these process-oriented play therapy models, you still need to know where your client's starting and where they need to end up. So in between, there's gonna be a kind of an ongoing process. These modalities still have phases or stages of treatment, which means there's certain things that have to be accomplished in each stage of treatment, which means you have an idea of what needs to happen from the beginning to the end. And one of the things that we know from research, there was some research that was done, or not research, there was an article that I read. This was in the Psychotherapy Networker, Scott Miller, and I forgot the other professional's name. Anyway, they were the Psychotherapy Networker wrote this article in which they were asking, it was addressed towards burnout, but it was more focused on talking to these masters in the psychotherapy world. Like, so these are top level professionals who are at the top of their game, getting really good treatment outcomes for their clients. And so they're asking these professionals, like, how do you avoid burnout? But what was interesting about the article was it became more about the way in which these professionals operated. And what I mean by that is they were able to conceptualize, this is your case conceptualization as well, and how it ties into treatment planning. They were able to identify their goal is from the very beginning, what needs to happen in order for my client to get the results that they want in the most efficient manner possible. So what does that mean, and how does that apply to treatment plans? It applies to treatment plans because this is your treatment planning process based on the conceptualization you did. This is where you're identifying what is going on and what needs to happen in order for change to occur. So you're, even with these process oriented models, I propose, and I am a firm believer, that treatment plans are still a really good roadmap that gives you an idea what needs to be accomplished and how it's going to be accomplished, and how you're going to know, and how your client will know, and how their parents will know, or their guardians, how they're going to know when they've accomplished what they want to accomplish. Because we all know at the end, as you're nearing termination, some termination is always going to bring up grief and loss issues. And so sometimes it's really hard for clients to let go. And if you already have an idea of the benchmark, so to speak, that they're going to accomplish, part of the work that you're going to do is how to help them let go of some of the scaffolding, so to speak, of the treatment process and begin to work towards that successful graduation from counseling. And that's the goal. The goal is, I always tell my clients this all the time when we're in that treatment planning process, my goal is to work myself out of a job. What that means is helping you accomplish what you want to accomplish, to be better, to feel better, for things to be better. And the question that I always ask when I'm in that treatment planning process is, what would you like to be better by coming, and what will that look like? This gets buy-in from the clients and begins to help them understand, oh, okay, we have a purpose. Here's what I would like to accomplish. Here's what this is going to look like. So as you're going through all of the phases of the treatment process, then you're going to be kind of looking for these and facilitating that change process for those things to accomplish. So the other thing to think about, and this to me is kind of related to documentation in general. It relates to the treatment planning and treatment plan process in that it ties everything together. And this is called, I don't know if you've ever heard of the golden thread. Oops, I put thread. That should be golden. I'm going to change that right now. Golden thread. If you're watching on Instagram, I mean, you won't see my banners, but if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, you're going to see my banners. So the golden thread analogy for documentation, meaning if you think about a golden thread that ties together all of the components of documentation, from your psychosocial assessment to your diagnosis, to your treatment plan, to your progress notes, to your discharge summary. You should be able to see the connection between your case conceptualization or biopsychosocial assessment or whatever kind of assessment you do to your diagnosis, because your diagnosis should be supported by your case conceptualization. And this is going to tie to your treatment plan, and that is going to tie to your progress notes. So all of these fit together. And this, again, this is true, documentation gives you a picture of the treatment process and what needs to be addressed in treatment. And I know people are a little nervous about progress notes and what they put in documentation. I know, none of us really love documentation. We didn't get into the mental health field to do documentation. Like, we don't live for progress notes. We got into this field because we want to make a difference in the lives of children, adolescents, and families. That's where our heart is. That's where our passion is. And documentation is part of that process. And it's an important part of that process, even though it's not our favorite. It is an important process. And having that connection where you can see that connection between the case conceptualization, treatment planning, diagnosis, and progress notes is going to provide that kind of good structure to help. One, it shows what's going on in the treatment process, but it's also a way for you to kind of go back and look, oh, here's what we've been doing along the way. But it also, if you're in an agency that bills for insurance or you have some other kind of oversight, it's a way to make sure that the treatment that's being provided is right for that client, and it is being provided, and it's being provided ethically and effectively. So that is just the reality of it. And the other part of that is making sure clients aren't unnecessarily in treatment for longer than they need to be. That being said, some clients need to be in treatment for as long as they need to be in treatment. So there's always that balance between what the client needs, which is also, in my opinion, tied into how effective and how efficient are we at getting them where they need to be. And that what that usually means, are we challenging them therapeutically when they need to be challenged, or are we just kind of letting them come in and have like a grapey session, and we're not really challenging them to make much changes? I see that a lot. So the documentation kind of gives an overview of that. And the golden thread analogy is what ties it all together. And so here's the thing. Aligning your case conceptualization and treatment planning is key to writing good treatment plans. And I kind of mentioned this already. I'm going to go into a little more depth. So what is case conceptualization? Essentially, you're gathering all of the information. Most of us do a biopsychosocial assessment, and you're gathering that information and developing a case conceptualization, which is essentially what exactly is the problem. So here's the behavior, but what's underneath the problem? What exactly is the problem? And why is that problem happening? If you're interested in case conceptualization, then I've done some previous live stream episodes, so you may want to go look at some of those previous episodes. If you're in my Facebook group, you can just kind of peruse through the featured section. If you're on LinkedIn, it's probably easiest to find them on my YouTube channel and Instagram. You may want to go over there and check out my YouTube channel as well in the live tab. And if you're interested, I also have a course it's an online course. Take it in your time zone when it's convenient for you, on getting grounded in play therapy case conceptualization. So I have a whole series that I am in the process of creating. 2 of them are already done. One of them is about ready to come out, so it's called the Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence series. The first in the course is Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. The second course is Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Case Conceptualization. And the course that's about to come out by the end of the month is called Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Treatment Planning. And then the one after that will be on progress notes. All of these courses are inside my Play Therapy Academy, which I'll talk a little bit more about Play Therapy Academy, because in Play Therapy Academy, we talk about these things all the time. We talk about case conceptualization and how that impacts treatment planning. So we'll do case presentations. It's an online group. We meet twice a month for online group consultation. We do case presentations. We'll do case conceptualization. We have other, so we'll talk about what strategies are making sure the play therapy model is being applied effectively, and what kind of interventions might be useful for whatever is going on with your particular clients. We do that twice a month. In addition to those meetings, these courses are inside that course. That being said, if you're not in Play Therapy Academy and you don't need that consultation piece, these courses are available just kind of like a la carte, meaning you can just go on there and purchase the course if you want. But so if you're interested in case conceptualization, I have a course on that. Treatment planning is taking that case conceptualization, so what exactly is the problem and why is it happening, and doing that with a cultural lens to make sure you're understanding the role of culture in what's going on with your clients, as well as identifying any resiliency factors. You take that to figure out and identify the focus for treatment, like what needs to happen in order to change, and how will that change take place. That's going to be, the result of that is going to be a treatment plan. So it's your case conceptualization, and that forms the foundation for your treatment planning, which is what are you going to do? So what's the problem? And the treatment plan is, how are you going to help your client get better? And what do they need to do in order to get better? The thing with case conceptualization and treatment planning is that it needs to align with your play therapy theoretical model. And why is this important for good treatment outcomes? Because your play therapy theoretical model is going to ground your sessions in a theoretical model. Even if you're using an integrated approach to play therapy, that's like prescriptive play therapy is ecosystemic play therapy. These are integrative models, and each of the interventions are going to be grounded in a theoretical model, which determines One, how you show up in the sessions, like your therapeutic presence. It's also going to help you identify your theory model dictates and influences how you conceptualize the problem. So a CBT play therapist is going to conceptualize the problem much differently than a child-centered play therapy therapist. So your theory model grounds your work from session to session, and it helps you navigate the ups and downs of the treatment process, because at some point, usually in the middle phase or when things aren't going so well, a lot of times what will happen is people begin to change and do things differently. And it's a lot like throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping something sticks rather than being more intentional, because your theory model is going to help you figure out, okay, what's going on here, and then what needs to happen in order to help my client work through this. That's your theory model. And this helps you formulate your treatment plan, because your treatment plan is going to be based out of your theoretical model. So how you conceptualize the problem then determines what needs to happen for you to know how to fix the problem. And so they do tie in together. And this is where they, even with process-oriented treatment plans, they are still meaningful, because then what happens is you and your client came up with and co-created what they want to be better and what that will look like. And you put that down in the format of a treatment plan with goals and objectives that identify what you want, what your client wants to be better. And then you've given that language in terms of goals and objectives and interventions to identify, okay, here's what needs to happen. And how will I know when things are better? You're going to be able to look at your goals and objectives to get a sense of where you are in that process. But the other thing is, if you're reviewing these regularly with your clients, their parents, depending on the age of the child, then it kind of reminds you, okay, here's what we're working on. Because how many of you get in the treatment process and you kind of get a little lost in there and things happen and you go this way and that way? It kind of helps you, if you periodically review, go back and review those goals and objectives with your clients and look at the interventions. Are these still working? Then it kind of helps keep you on track of where we're going and what needs to happen. It also helps your client kind of come back and think about, oh yeah, we're working on this. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be doing this. You know, especially with parents, they're working on some parenting goals. You should have some parenting goals and objectives in your treatment plan. So reminding parents what they're working on, reminding kids what they're working on, depending on how the age of the child and if they're in that process. And so it really helps your clients also be engaged in the change process in a much more intentional and focused way. So if you're writing treatment goals and objectives and using interventions that meet the need, then they will be good. And if they're not, then reviewing those means, oh yeah, we need to make some adjustments here. What adjustments do we need to make? And you're doing it together. To me, that's one of the most effective things about treatment plans, is going back and reviewing them and saying, oh, here's where we are. Is this still working? If we need to shift a little bit, what is that going to look like? So that is it for today. Let me do a little recap on today. Writing meaningful treatment plans in play therapy. First and foremost, treatment plans are the outcome of the collaboration between you and your clients to identify what you and your clients are going to work on during the treatment process. And the golden thread analogy is how all of these different parts of the documentation work together and support each other. So you want to make sure you're tying them all together. And that does kind of give you a roadmap. I always think of it like a plumb line. I don't know if you're familiar. This is kind of a building analogy. In order for builders to have a straight line, they use this chalk line, and it rolls out, and they have a start and an end, and it's string with chalk on it. So they pull it out, and it's really tight, and then they'll kind of pluck it, so it leaves this chalk line on the surface where they need to create that straight line. And that's kind of what the golden thread, I think of the golden thread analogy, is like that plumb line. Are we all matching up? And what does this picture look like through my documentation? And then finally, treatment plans are the outcome of your case conceptualization and the treatment planning process. In order to have effective treatment plans, you first need to have effective case conceptualization. That's going to then identify what the focus of treatment needs to be. So what are you going to do to help your clients? What are your clients going to do in order to get better? That's that treatment planning process. And the outcome of that is a treatment plan. And your case conceptualization and your treatment planning process are heavily influenced by your theoretical model. Your theoretical model is what influences how you identify the problem and how the problem is going to be resolved. So that's an important part of the process. So that is it for today. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, Play Therapy Academy is an online play therapy consultation program to help you do that case conceptualization with each of your clients. So we know in play therapy, we need good training. The thing is, consultation helps you take that, what you've learned in your training, and apply it from session to session to session to session. And in that consultation program, we meet twice a month, and you have not only my 30 years of experience, you have the experience and wisdom of the other members in the program. And so what we'll do is we'll staff cases, we'll do that case conceptualization, we'll figure out what the problem is, we'll identify what needs to happen, we'll give some ideas, we'll also make sure whatever theoretical model you're using, that's being applied so you can get the best outcomes for your clients. Plus, you have the support of your colleagues. We have some amazing professionals in my Play Therapy Academy. So I have two cohorts. Right now, I do have some openings that when they fill up, they're going to be full, and I won't have openings until somebody isn't doing it anymore. Right now, I have, I believe I have 4 openings. So I have one or two left in my Saturday cohort, and then I have a couple in my Wednesday cohort. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, then you can pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. Go on the supervision page, look for Play Therapy Academy, schedule a free 30-minute interview, and we can talk about how Play Therapy Academy can work for you and make sure it's a good fit for you. If you're interested in some of the courses that I have, you can hop over to my website on the courses page. Right now, I have some online courses. I do have some live webinars coming up. Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Case Conceptualization is available. Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Treatment Planning is going to be available by the end of the month in August. early August, end of July, early August. Also, I have Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations, plus a couple other online courses there. I will also post a link in the comments for my Facebook group and LinkedIn. If you're on YouTube or Instagram, just pop over to my website and check it out. Alrighty, and I will see you next week. Bye.